What's up, guys? Welcome to Poor Man Mods. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can powder coat cheaply and easily in your basement or garage at home. Eastwood sent me their PCS-250 dual voltage gun. I'm going to be reviewing that in the process as well as showing you my little setup in the basement. We're going to see how well this can powder coat a turbocharger housing. We're going to be doing a two-stage powder on this. We're going to be doing a chrome base and a translucent top. It's going to be a bit of a trickier application, so we'll see if this PCS-250 can handle the job. So I'm going to get over to the workbench and open this thing up, and then I'll show you my system. If you're a returning subscriber, or you've just seen one of my videos in the past, you may remember that I did review their dual voltage gun a couple years ago. Well, this is their new and improved designs. So this system is now retired. They have now upgraded to the PCS-250, which has some improvements. So I'm excited to see how well it does, because I did really like this kit as a DIYer. I had no complaints with it. All right, two of the biggest things, clear bottle and a black gun barrel thing. I'm really excited about the clear bottle. I only have their white bottles, but once you get more of these, it allows you to see the actual mixture or powderization or whatever you call it. Lets you see the flow of the powder, and I think that's going to be really cool. And it's easier to see your powder level. All right. That is all that comes in the box. You get the instruction manual and the kit. So let's talk about this. So, very similar to the old dual voltage kit. What I noticed immediately is this trigger is changed to give you more clearance right here. The other one went a little bit too far forward, and it was a narrower trigger. This feels a lot better. That's a lot more ergonomic. And I'm loving this clear bottle. I think that's going to be really cool to see. It does come with this diffuser on the front. If you're doing a base layer or a larger panel, you want this on. This will allow the powder to come out and kind of disperse and give you better coverage. But if you're doing a thicker layer, or if you're doing a smaller piece, you can take it off and it just shoots straight out. If you need to get deep into a nook and cranny, you can do that. So this gives you some flexibility. This also gives you flexibility with the dual voltage switch right here. Now, very similar to the old system, you have a low voltage setting for a base layer or tight nooks and crannies. You need the lower voltage for the Faraday effect. If you have it on a higher voltage setting and you're getting into a tight nook and cranny, there's some kind of like magnetic field there, and it won't let the powder adhere. So base layers and tight spots, you want it on the low setting, and the high setting is for multiple coats or for large areas. And they did a little bit of tweaking with this panel to where it has a little bit more power, so we should have better adhesion on thicker coats. So I'm excited to see how this is going to do the translucent layer. This switch seems to be about the same, but they did change the color on these wires, which is nicer. So on the older kit, everything was black and it was a bit confusing, but the ground, which I like, the ground is now green. You can easily see it, and it's got a much bigger clamp. The old clamp was definitely just a very small alligator clip. This is much more heavy duty, stronger, and can clip onto things nicer. So this is definitely a solid upgrade for sure. That's really the only physical difference I can see other than the color. The trigger here, the bottle, and the ground. But we'll see how it sprays. I'm definitely excited to use it. It does not come with a chuck on the air fitting here, so I'm going to put some Teflon tape on here and add my own fitting. I did notice they have a little rubber or plastic sleeve right here, which kind of keeps this positive wire tight to the body here. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to remove that or not. I think it's intentional to keep this wire safe, so I'm going to leave it on. Alright, this thing should be good to go. Why don't I take this over to my spray booth and I'll show you my whole setup. Alright, here is the first section of my powder coating system that's in my basement. Here is my spray booth, which I have never used this version before. I just redid it. I was using a similar design, but it was out of a cardboard box. But this is just a plastic tote that I have an LED strip on to illuminate inside. I have a J-hook up here so I can rotate the piece in here and get it all the way around. It's just sitting on some PVC piping, and I have some shelves on there to store the powder and stuff. Very simple design. You don't need a cabinet, but it makes cleanup much easier, especially when you have a filter on a box fan. So when I spray powder, a lot of it will get trapped in the cabinet, and what doesn't get trapped will get pulled, or most of it will get pulled through the fan and captured here. There's going to be some dust down here, but like, it's so minor you really won't tell unless you're right around this area. It does keep it really, really clean. I've been doing this for a couple years just like this, and haven't had many issues. Alright, the next thing that I have is Eastwood's bench top or workbench sandblasting cabinet. A couple years ago I did a whole review video on this. This allows me to literally do everything in my basement. I can get a part in here, sandblast it, powder coat it, all in my basement. And I do have an air compressor for this, but it's really not rated for it. It's only like a 15-gallon air compressor. When I use this, it is just running the entire time, and it's definitely getting hot. I should upgrade the compressor. It does work, but it's not ideal. It's definitely putting a lot of strain and wear and tear on that compressor. So ideally, I should get a bigger one, but I absolutely love this blast cabinet. It doesn't take that much space. You can literally put it on top of a workbench and put it away when you're done. It does leak a little bit of sand. I've done my best to seal it up, but it does leak a little bit, so keep that in mind wherever you put it. You will get some sand in that area, especially when you open up the lid, but there's definitely sand around the perimeter. But it does allow me to do everything in my basement. Lastly is my oven, and this is the bottleneck of the entire system. This is just a regular electric kitchen oven that I got off Craigslist for like 40 bucks. I can put small items in here. It's just your standard oven. I think the biggest thing I can really do is like a valve cover off of like a Honda or any kind of 4-cylinder, or like a tractor tire or a 4-wheeler wheel. I can't do automotive wheels. Definitely wouldn't be able to do a valve cover off of a straight 6 engine. So this allows me to do smaller things, but the oven truly is the bottleneck. You don't need a spray cabinet to powder coat something, so you can powder coat anything, no matter how big it is, but it has to be able to fit in your oven. So the bigger you can go, the better. But like I said, this was 40 bucks off Craigslist, and it works just fine. But you actually don't even need anything this big. When I started out on my workbench, I had just a little toaster oven. So if you're just doing small pieces, that's really all you need. But this allows me to do pretty much everything that I need in my basement, with the exception of like wheels and bumpers. So yeah, I couldn't be happier with this setup. I mean, it sucks that it's in my basement, but you know, with Eastwood's help with the sandblaster and the powder coating kit, I'm able to do it in my basement, and I think that's really cool. So don't be discouraged. If you want to get into powder coating, you can, and it's not that expensive. You can get into this for probably under $500 if you get a used compressor and a used oven. It's really not that big of a deal. So let's get over and powder coat this compressor housing. Here is the turbocharger. One thing that you can do, especially if it's cast aluminum that you're going to be powder coating, is you can preheat it. Anything that may have had oil on it, or could have any kind of contaminants in it, even after sandblasting, if you put it in the oven and, you know, put it at 425 degrees and get this thing hot, a lot of that contamination can burn off. So I did put this in the oven and baked it. Even though this is sandblasted, it's not perfect because this was powder coated, and removing powder coat is really hard, and that's why we like powder coat, because it's durable. But one thing I did do to this off camera, it's still warm, but I used some powder coat masking tape to mask off this section here so I don't get powder inside the turbo. So now what I'm going to do is spray it with Eastwood's pre-painting prep. This will decontaminate the surface of any more oils and waxes and such, oils from my hands. And then after that, I will torch it to burn off the fibers from the paper towel or microfiber. Actually, before I clean it, I'm going to attempt to set up my hook. I'm going to be hanging this in the powder coat spray booth, but I'm going to be laying it down in my oven. So this should be good enough to where I can hang it from the hook, but when I go to lay it down in the oven, it's not going to touch the turbo. Yeah, this will be perfect. And also, if you're going to hang the object in your oven, you want to make sure that you get the position of it right in the oven before you spray it with powder. So test fit it in the oven, get that configuration right, and then spray it with powder. Okay, we can go ahead and decontaminate this. Then I'll hit it with the torch quick to burn off any fibers. How cool is that? It's a little big, but I still can rotate it to get behind it. That is really cool. Now I need to add some powder to this thing. I'm going to add about just an inch of powder. I don't need a whole lot for this, and I'm going to be adding chrome. It's going to make a mess, so just be ready.
A respirator or dust mask is highly recommended for this. You don't want to be breathing powder.
Another very important thing to note, you want a water filter separator at the air compressor, as well as a disposable one as close to the gun as possible, and a pressure regulator as close to the gun as possible. We're only running 10 psi. You don't need a lot of air. So for the powder coat system, you could really get away with one of those little pancake air compressors. You don't need anything big, but for the sandblaster, you need something bigger than that.
So for this, plug in the powder coat system, connect the ground up there, hold the switch here, and spray powder. Let's get to it. I had it on the high voltage setting. I want to leave it on low for the first coat, and you are going to need it in the low setting for this area right there. I really like how you can see the aeration in the bottle. Having this light all the way around the cabinet is amazing. It is so helpful. So much easier to see.
For temperature and time, you want to read the powder. It will specify, and it will vary depending on the powder that you have. I'm going to put this in the oven at 425 degrees at 20 minutes. And keep in mind, I said this is chrome, but it's not going to look chrome when it's done. More like an aluminum or a silver. It's almost impossible to get real chrome. So I'm going to put this in the oven, but I'm not going to clean the gun and go to my next color yet, because if it turns out I need more chrome, I don't want to have to change color back. But now that I have two guns, I only have one air chuck, but if I had two guns, I could have two different colors at the same time, which is really nice. But I'm going to put this in the oven, let it go for 20 minutes, relax, and then I'll see how it looks. And if it looks good when it comes out, I'll switch to my blue. All right. Oh, that's looking good. Now I know I'm grabbing it where the powder is, and basically I'm messing it up, but there's a coupler that's going here, so I'm not worried about it. That looks great. The chrome turned out really good, so here I am spraying the first layer of the blue powder, but for some reason I had some adhesion problems. It just didn't want to stick to the chrome that well, especially around the elbow. Some parts were okay, but especially around the elbow and the bottom, there were just some adhesion problems, and it required a second coat. So after this first layer, put it in the oven, baked it for 20 minutes again, and pulled it out, and it didn't look good enough for me, so I decided to do a second coat. Here I am spraying the second coat, and this time the powder is adhering amazing, and the piece is hot, so it's actually flowing as I'm spraying it on, and you can see it's turning out to be absolutely amazing. For some reason, this second coat of blue just sprayed so much better than the first, and it worked absolutely flawless. So the powder coat system is on the high power setting, and it is just working amazing. Alright guys, this came out absolutely amazing. Look at this. That looks so good. Oh man, I'm excited. It's like a dark bluish purple chrome. Oh my god, it looks so good. Alright guys, so the turbocharger is looking absolutely amazing. This is easily the best looking powder coat project I've ever done. It looks so good. You've seen my powder coat setup. It's nothing spectacular, nothing special, but everything I showed you in this video will allow you to powder coat in your basement at home and get amazing results like this. The Eastwood PCS-250 kit, absolutely amazing. I'm going to say 10 out of 10. Especially for the DIYer, the homeowner, the weekend warrior, you really can't go wrong. It is phenomenal. I mean, their previous kit was good, but the little tweaks they made to make this one perform even better, absolutely fantastic. I will have a link to the Eastwood products that I have, including that PCS-250, in the description down below. Definitely go check out all that stuff so you can get powder coating in your basement or in your garage. You know, don't be scared to do this. It really isn't that much money to get invested, and it's really not that hard. It's way more forgiving than paint. If you mess up while you're spraying powder, you just brush it off, rinse it off, and start over. It's way more forgiving than paint, so much easier. It doesn't smell. It's incredible. So, thank you, Eastwood. This wouldn't be possible without you. Yeah, definitely 10 out of 10 for the PCS-250. Absolutely nothing wrong with that kit whatsoever. Fantastic. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.